It's Chainsaw Tuesday! What in the good goddamn just happened? I am left speechless after this chapter, specifically because there were so many great references, but also because we got Locust Man, and of course, one of the biggest moments in which Yoru once again has revealed herself to be, probably the worst. If you have some spare scratch, consider supporting the channel through my Gamer Subs creator code, from waifu and husbando cups to their GG energy flavors and their awesome merch, which I highly recommend. You can get 10% off when you use code CTactics. We pick up from chapter 225, in which Denji and Yoru are now within the depths of hell. Turns out that Lily, in all of their masked glory, was right, which, hey, that's a pretty good advertisement to watch those segments where we go over comments on the chapter from my Discord server at the end, because they got this one 100% right when I saw nobody mentioning it prior. What I mean is that hell is a literal ocean. To me, in my head at least, I thought of hell as this giant landmass of scorched red earth, not unlike the original Doom, because Doom is awesome and needs to be pried from the dead hands of Microslop. So in my head, Doom is hell. But I like this version of hell a lot too, simply because if you think about it, the ocean is kinda hell, isn't it? It's beautiful for sure, but if there is a fate that is worse than burning alive for eternity, like biblical hell, then drowning in a sea of pitch black for eternity, it's right up there with the worst ways to go. Denji is stupefied at the lack of devils in hell as Yoru fires a machine gun-like fury of cute anime girl. Bung! Man, isn't anime just so good, you guys? She then bangs Denji into a corner until his defenses are weak and he falls into hell, getting all wet. She demands that Denji come up for air so that she can see the look of defeat and humiliation on his face, which is kinda cute because after all of this, somehow, Yoru thinks falling into hell, the place that is the origins of his powers, and also, the place where he is formerly known as the hero of hell, would defeat him. But at the same time, maybe Yoru thinks Denji can't swim. Though I must admit, I gotta respect it, y'all. Yoru's cutthroat reaction speeds to immediately just emptying a magazine right into Denji with not a second of delay. I mean, God, she's a total asshole. So I don't know about you guys, but the last thing I expected to happen here was the freaking arrival of the freaking Locust Devil? This was so goddamn great. And it makes me wonder if this devil is actually called the Locust Devil, because the title of the chapter is Locust's Home, so I think it is the Locust Devil, at least. But I do wonder if he is a hybrid with a humanoid and insectoid look to it. Because, I mean, if you compare the designs to, like, Chainsaw Man and Katana Man, like I mentioned before, they are quite similar. Also, this is something I'd absolutely buy a figure for if they were to release one in the future, and if I were rich. It just looks so good and isn't too surprising. I mean, Fujimoto's devil designs are all interesting and heavy metal as fudge. So here we go, one of the best moments in the chapter. Denji comes up for air and says, "Oh man, if I couldn't swim, I'd sure be screwed right now." Which is a reference, of course, to the Reze arc, in which Manic Pixie Boom Girl promised to teach Denji everything, including how to love and, of course, swim. This is an instance where his lessons learned with Reze are good lessons this time, and they have come to help and protect him. It's also a bit of fan service for us, the people who will not give up, because any day now, any day in fact, Reze, Kobeni, Kishibe, Quan Chi, what else? Nayuta, yeah, she's probably still alive for sure. They're coming back. Fujimoto kind of threw us a bone with that one, and once again, these references are not here for nothing either. Storytellers don't remind you of stuff like this unless there is some sort of reasoning behind it. Could this be just to build up something from part 1 to show character growth? Maybe, probably, yeah. Does this mean Reze is coming back just because of this reference? Skeptical, but 100% confirmed. Reze is coming anyways. Any day now. Hold the line, people. And on top of that, Denji even says, "Time out a second," which is another reference, in fact, a near identical word-for-word reference to the Reze arc, in which she says the same thing to Denji and Aki because, remember, she's naked and anemic. And as Denji picks himself back up onto dry concrete, we see that Locust Man is doing a number on Yoru, absolutely wrecking her by impaling her through the stomach with its stinger. And so Denji taunts her, proclaiming in front of her that this is the perfect plan and now she must surrender. But not so fast, because Yoru is a disgusting woman who gives into Denji's demand to give control back to Asa's body, but not in the way that he was expecting, because she does give in, but only to psychologically toy and manipulate Denji's emotions. God, I hate her! Because Asa comes back, which is nice to see, just not in this instance, because she pleads with blood in her throat for Denji to save her. Yoru is one of these people who will use anything to her advantage and to get the upper hand, and even this right here was some just next level cruelty. Because not only is she using Asa as a pawn, a tool to get leverage on Chainsaw Man and Denji, but also to show Asa has no control unless she gives it to her. If I were Asa, man, I'd be hella pissed off. I'd be fuming, but of course, that is not who Asa is in nature, as she's weak to Yodi? Weak to Yodi's mighty power. What am I saying? Weak to Yoru's mighty power. This is Yoru telling Denji basically, hey, listen, get out of here. Go back to Earth or the girlfriend gets it. At the same time, this is important to show as a small stone in the cobbled path of Denji and Asa's relationship. I mentioned a while back that Asa and Denji, are kind of like functionally strangers. I was reminded by, I think it was October in my Discord, that this would actually be a very incorrect assumption. Just wanted to mention that, so you guys know that I've changed my mind on that take because of what we're about to talk about next. Well, this is a subtle hint that Denji can't stand to see Asa in such a state as this, because they've gotten to know each other and they have a connection, a bond. Because his response to Asa is simply, cheater. It's Denji understanding the kind of antics Yoru is doing here and acknowledging her dirty and sleazy tactics. Why that is important to Asa and Denji is because it shows there is a sweet spot in Denji's heart for Asa Mitaka, fun name to say. After all, they're best buds who bonded over killing their parents. Normal bestie stuff, right? So now Denji must drag Asa and Yoru back to planet Earth along with Locust Man and continue to fight there. And as we see, Denji's arm is sliced off as Locust Man stands tall over Yoru, or maybe it's Asa. Let's take our bets now. So I want to mention something of a theory based on these last pages. Not sure what the ramifications of it could be or how useful this would be to the narrative, but we're going to talk about it anyways. But I'm not convinced that Yoru is controlling Asa's body right now, because while it is very hard to tell, Fujimoto seems to have not drawn the scars on these images of Yoru/Asa, which makes me think that perhaps Yoru could have withdrawn into the body and mind of Asa, and now she is back. Now, as I said, I can't think of a reason for why this would be useful to the plot overall at the moment, so maybe she will resume control as soon as chapter 227 begins, but it would be cool if for a moment we see Asa, I don't know, give some feedback to Denji, some important information that is pertinent to give him the upper hand as soon as she comes back. Maybe she can hold her back long enough so that Denji can defeat Locust Man and they can continue their fight. I don't know where this is headed. That being said, we do know that Yoru is a top-tier coward and runs away from anything that even seems like her defeat. Because, as she said, to the victor goes the loser. That's the rules of the game. That she probably couldn't be stand-owned by someone, especially Denji. So maybe we won't see Yoru for a good while we take care of the Locust Devil. Which is, by the way, kind of symbolically important. It's a tale as old as time itself. And I'm tired of it. You're tired of it. Yes! Indeed, locusts symbolize the biblical end times as it spreads famine and disease. Ugh! I mean, I'm joking, I'm playing it up, but yeah, I'm tired of hearing about locusts in the Bible at this point. I'm kind of done. So why this fits symbolically is because of the state of the world thus far. But wouldn't that seem a bit redundant? We already know it's the end for humanity at this point, or at the very least the end of humanity as we knew it. So what if this symbolizes the end for Yoru's dominance? What if this entire event is simply a precursor to something even bigger? What if Yoru woke up a sleeping giant we have no clue of what it could be? Because to simply put, this is not the end of Chainsaw Man. Part 2, or part all of it. whatever, you know what I'm saying. Not even close. Part 3 is so happening. So maybe this is the first steps to establish something else that's even bigger, which requires part 2 ending and going into part 3. As I said in previous videos, are we sure? Are we dead sure that Yoru is the be-all, end-all antagonist, the coward girl who runs away from the falling devil that she's now turned into her clothing, ironically enough, that struggled to turn Denji into a weapon? We're not even mentioning all the stuff that Death has done that doesn't make any freaking sense when you think about it. Oh, and also, Yoru has never beat Chainsaw Man, and likely at this point, based on everything we've seen, will never beat Denji. Maybe Locust Man is the symbolism for the future big bad, the opening of the gates to Badland. So now let's head on over to my Discord to see what the community has to say about this chapter, and this week ignited a ton of awesome discussion. President Shimem brings up that this is not a primal fear, but I love this observation. He says that he is struggling to see what the plan was for going to hell because they're already back after one chapter. And on top of that, it arguably made the situation worse with an immortal Locust devil. So what is the end game and what is the plan? My head immediately goes to using the erasure of death as a way to punish Yoru, using her own ideology of or plan, I guess, of an unending war against her. I mean, why not? The only way Yoru would be able to continue her endless war with Pochita is by ending death, so she always can wage war. But if Yoru is as weak and cowardly as her constitution seems to suggest she is, then there is no way in hell this doesn't end in embarrassment after embarrassment. And think of it this way, too. Denji may have set himself up as the victor based on eating death. All this could very well be useless action coming from Yoru, as what happens when an immortal devil that negates Yoru's powers in some way comes along? Because there are concepts out there you have to think that absolutely must be more powerful than war, and some you may think to be impossible, probably. I think the Locust Devil could have that potential, despite not being a primal fear, because one of the outcomes of war, and this is just me spitballing here, it's pestilence and famine. Things that affect and make the war machine weak, I guess, which then requires more resources. Things like locusts, rats, cockroaches, insects, coyotes, and vultures. Maybe these are all very small examples, but could be effective concepts at fighting war simply because the fear of starving to death is kind of a strong one. I don't know. Maybe it's something. But there are probably a lot of holes you could pick into that logic as well. I'm thinking of plenty. Listen, I'm trying, okay? I'm trying! Tweaker, though, drops a freaking mega bomb on me that hit like a truck. He mentions how in part 1, Makima said, "Save me, Chainsaw Man," while Asa says, "Did she?" I'm going to cut that out. Tweaker, though, drops a freaking mega bomb on me that hit like a truck. He mentions how in part 1, Makima said, "Save me, Chainsaw Man," while Asa says, "Save me, Denji." It's a small example, but one that speaks volumes when you realize the writing. Asa Mitaka, fun name to say, values Denji for who he is. And let's go back to the Reze arc again. Denji complained that everyone wants his heart, but what about Denji's heart? Just saying. I think Fujimoto could, just based on that line alone of "Save me, Denji," this guy could write a fantastic romance series, and you'd have to reckon, with all that we've seen throughout Fujimoto's works, this is something he would excel at so well. It's clear that he adores the concepts of romance in his stories. Almost every single story he has ever done has some form of love within it, and this is an example, just another example of it. I feel like the more and more we see Asa interact with Denji and vice versa, their bond just seems to grow more and more. Now Asa is relying on him to save her, and the best part, it isn't because of some cliche where the man must save the woman. No. Asa is quite literally screwed because of Yoru's devil powers. She just needs help, and I love this kind of writing. It's just so damn good. And that gets into these sets of comments, which I thought were all pretty great examples for why Yoru has relented her control to Asa. I think it was to manipulate Denji and to stop him from continuing the fight, which is why I think it's a yield for her waving the white flag. After all, her biggest shield is Asa. She knows Denji would never try to hurt her, and so she is keeping her hostage, using her as a way to get to Denji to then get to Pochita. In other words, like I said, just Yoru, oh god, he's such an asshole! King Lao makes a really good observation when he posts a little something about biblical this or that. In Revelation 9:11, Abaddon is described as the destroyer, the angel of the abyss, and as the king of a plague of locusts resembling horses with crowned human faces, women's hair, lion's teeth, wings, iron breastplates, and a tail with a scorpion's stinger that torments for 5 months anyone who does not have the seal of God on their foreheads. During those days, people will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. And wouldn't you know it, Locust Man indeed has a stinger. And none of these other details seem to match, which I don't know, maybe they're not terribly important, maybe they are terribly important. We'll just have to find out. Otherwise, it would just be maybe too obvious to have those details in. I don't know, I think the key of this will be what we see during the next couple of chapters. One thing is for sure, this guy is a major threat, and with it looking more and more like Yoru has given control back to Asa, we may be entering into the next phase of what could be yet another highly impactful arc and adventure for Denji and Asa alike. We will just have to see. I'm scared, I'm frightened, it's dark, kawaii-o. No bite, Weekly Devil, we're free! Thank you so much for watching. Join my Discord to grow our community. Click here for the next Chainsaw Man video or the orange thumbnail for the most recent Dawn to Dawn video. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.